the day. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
It is now 7:45, soon to be 7:46 here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Activated Mornings is back this morning. You're listening to Ari, and with me is Roleza in studios. And this morning we're talking Vincentian students falsely characterized as terrorists at U.S. Embassy. This story could be found on onenewssvg.com or One News on Facebook, and it reads, well, there's a note at the beginning. The names of the students and the country in which they were studying were intentionally left out of this story for protection purposes. A group of Vincentian students who studied in a Central American country a few years ago are still trying to understand why they have been characterized as terrorists at the U.S. Embassy in Barbados. Since completing their studies and returning to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, some of the students have tried to obtain U.S. visas in Barbados at the Embassy in Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean, and the OECS, but they have all been barred from obtaining visas because they have been characterized as terrorists. The former students have raised this matter with officials in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, including Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, but SVG's Prime Minister and its government has refused to take any action even after promises to raise the issue with the U.S. Embassy and the U.S. Department of State. I don't know, that paragraph seems a little dangerous for a news report. Not these former students allege, or the former students. Anyways, sorry, that's the journalism. According to one of the former students, the incident stems from one student who was living in the country in which they resided. That one Vincentian student allegedly visited a terrorist website and had interactions with the website. The one student in question claims he was only fooling around. One to other students at the time was detected by officials in the country in which they were studying, and since then, all of the students studying at the same time were falsely associated with the one student who allegedly visited the terrorist website. Since then, the students say they were reportedly pulled into rooms at airports for questioning when trying to travel. Some who had American visas before the incident later found out that those visas were cancelled. One of the former students has described the issue as an innocent paying for a guilty situation. The students say the unfair issue has affected them gravely, with some unable to visit friends and family in the US, and others facing the possibility of a lifetime ban on travel to other countries since biometric and other information collected for travel is shared among countries. One of the students have described the issue as an unfortunate action by authorities and an action on which due process was not followed and proper investigations not conducted. Another student has expressed grave disappointment with the Vincentian government for leaving the matter as is, even amidst promises to address the unfair situation with officials from the U.S. government. How would you feel if your child clean and became one single student from the batch on his own accord, messed around that your child was not part of the mess up is being punished? One of the students asked. The students say they hope for a proper unbiased investigation to be led into the matter so that they can have their lives back. Thoughts?
I don't even know what to think of this. Or I don't know. Makes me curious. So yes, I can understand the student, that particular student, let's say, being quote unquote flagged, right, in the system. But is it a case where they thought that those group of students who were studying at the time were like a terrorist cell or something? I mean, you grouped all of them together. This was, I don't know. And it makes me wonder as well, how easy is it for you to quote unquote be flagged or blacklisted, in the sense, I'm using the word a bit loosely here, based on the actions of just one individual?
What I'm curious is which country? So if it's Cuba, then like,
What is it? Central American
yeah.
country.
If it's Cuba, then it's like, If it's Mexico, it's like, Yeah.
No, but I'm not even just focusing on the students who actually did the action. What it is that I am focusing on I have the questions on is the fact that it's the group of students who were studying there at that time, all of them being, as I said, quote unquote, being blacklisted or being flagged. Is it a case where the interpretation is that because all of them were Vincentians or are Vincentians, they're all studying at the same time? Is it a case where the thought process is that they're probably like a terrorist group or something?
Let me tell you, no. If I was in Taiwan and a Vincentian visited some terrorist site and I was being blacklisted, I was in the embassy singing. I would have been Mariah Carey. It's only him. I don't even know him in St. Vincent. I from Lee, he from country. There's a barrier. I don't know him. I was selling them all the way out.
But this is what it sounds like has happened in this case. It sounds as if the students who are not involved have made their voices heard that they had nothing to do with it. So how is it that you're grouping all of them together? That is where I actually have the question. I'm not necessarily and the thing of it, I'm not even trying to be harsh on these students who visited the site.
Nah, he's stupid.
Because I don't want to say stupid.
He's stupid. He's stupid.
Okay, I am not. So listen, right? I don't know the age of the person, and curiosity takes over sometimes, right? Curiosity does take over. Your youthfulness also comes out in many instances, and I want to believe it's more of a naivety. Am I saying that word correctly? Well, you know what I mean. If I just pronounce it right? I think it's more of them being naive about the consequences of their action, and I'm chalking it up to hopefully youthfulness.
Listen,
right?
Listen. You would never see me, or even in secondary school or college, or early 20s, you would not see me on an Al Qaeda site or a Hamas site. Interacting with people, say, hey, what's up? Where are they bombing today? What's going on? I am not doing that. That's stupidity. That is stupidity. Then he says, I was just messing.
But the thing is, do you know but do you think that they actually knew of the implications? They probably didn't.
You're on a terrorist website. What benefit could you have from being on a terrorist website?
Curiosity.
What benefit? Curiosity is not benefit.
It's not a benefit, but you needed to know information. We've all been curious about things.
I have never been curious about the ins and outs of terrorism to the point in which I am reaching out to people to find out more.
You know what?
What do terrorists eat for breakfast?
But it comes the same, Ari. Like I would sit down and look at a documentary to gain information on a particular.
We're watching the documentary on a terrorist website.
No, but that is it. So what is the difference between looking at a documentary to gather information as opposed to going on a website to?
And you telling them, I was only fooling her.
But that's
I
what
could
I'm saying.
understand if you say, I am a researcher. I was looking for stuff in relation to my thesis. I'm a journalist. I was researching for a story. Nothing like that. You went into the embassy and said, I was only fooling around. Of course, you're going to be categorized as terrorists. But what's interesting to me is the US, in its preventative measures, would be able to single out Vincentian students with no history of terrorism, to my knowledge. Vincentians, the biggest crimes Vincentians would commit going to the US is overstaying. How is it?
What's that other thing that they claim political asylum? No, that's not for the US.
I don't think that's the US, yeah. And they're able to blacklist this group of students, but terrorists are still in and out of the US. There's still terrorism. There's still terrorism happening in the US. So I understand the preventative measure, but don't you think that you're targeting the wrong sets of people? Or at least a country. Well, let me not say that, because I always say that
terrorism could be in any country.
Our allies, not even that, I always say that our allies are a bit odd in terms of relations to the US. Our allies, Cuba, Venezuela, Taiwan.
Why you say odd?
It is odd. Cuba has a strained relationship with the US. Venezuela have a strained. I went to what was it? It was something at the college a few years ago. And the Prime Minister gave a speech. And the speech that he gave, it sounded very borderline communist to me at least. And it sounded like he was chanting down the US in support of either Venezuela or Cuba. I cannot remember. It was a long time ago. It was 2016. It was 2016. It happened. And that's how I interpreted at least.
Well,
So
I
imagine,
mean, the preempt tends to say that we are friend of all.
I don't think we're friends of all.
All.
I don't think we're friends of all. But looking at that history, then I could say, that's odd. And worse is the country in which they were in. I'm curious as to which country they were in, because Vincentian students, I would believe, if they study in any country in Central America, it is Mexico
most likely, right?
Or Belize. And I don't think it's Belize. I really do believe that this is Mexico. And if it is Mexico, then what were you thinking?
Gosh,
Going on
Ari,
to a
yeah, I
terrorist
know. I hear what you're
site.
saying. I hear what you're saying. But as I said, sometimes we don't stop and think of what the implications are. Our curiosity does lead some of us astray. What it is that I have the issue with is all of them being characterized or all of them being grouped. That's really what
You don't have an issue with what the story is alleging about the government?
About them not pushing or trying to
assist the students in any way?
Yes, of course I would have an issue with that, because you need to be able to try to clear your name, and preventing, and it's not just them needing to visit for work, for travel purposes, for leisure, but some of them may actually have intention of probably working overseas, etc. So I do think that but you see, because I've only heard this part of it, I would like to hear, wishful thinking, let's hope, to have a response maybe from Minister of Foreign Affairs, maybe Foreign Affairs, in relation to this particular situation. Because, as I keep harping on the point, grouping all of them together is where I have the issue.
I'd like to hear what Foreign Affairs have to say about this, because I know Foreign Affairs is they're very active in assisting students. So I'd like to know what exactly happened, because I don't know.
And how long ago did it happen as well? Because it sounds like it's been maybe a few years.
It has to be a few years. We haven't sent students to Mexico in a really long time.
Okay, can't remember. But Actually, how do you group them? That's my whole thing. How do you group them without doing a proper investigation, without asking the questions? How?
Association. If I see
because
this
all
is the
of us
person
are in the same country at the same university.
If I see this person is on this website, and then I go and I look into him and I see photos of him with the other Vincentians looking chummy, having the time of their lives, I'm gonna be like, so it's a group and not one individual.
Presumptuous. That's presumptuous.
A lot of things are presumptuous when you're trying to find terrorists. They're not the first, and they're not the last to be accused of terrorism. What is the problem is that they're not getting assistance from their country and clearing up the issue. At least that's what they're telling One News SVG. So I personally would like to hear more than, as you said, this side, because there's always three sides to the story. I would really like to hear from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I'd really like, I mean, we won't get this, but I'd really like to hear from the US.
Or even, because when we were going to do the studio, what am I saying? When we were actually going to do the topic, I actually went on Google to see what are the implications for visiting a terrorist website. Looking to see if there were pointers there, that sort of thing, but I didn't come across anything. I probably didn't search hard enough, but something as curiosity getting the better of you. Yes, Ari, I keep saying it. Curiosity getting the better of you, being naive, being youthful. It happens to the best of us. Or them, not me, but them.
Who was it? I think it was Chris Rock said when he was at school, he never thought, shoot up the school. Or was it Dave Chappelle? They were like,
But I'm not curiosity.
Have you
Neither.
tried- have you
But I'm
tried-
not curiosity, Ari.
have you tried skipping school? Have you tried narcotics? Have you tried different things that children usually try? Your immediate thought is to shoot up the school.
Man, that's a different context.
In this case,
Mm.
have you tried exploring wherever you are?
You
Going
mean
to
go
museums,
watching
watching TV, hanging out with friends.
Hmm.
Have you tried dating? Try dating. Because my curiosity never lead me to terrorist websites. Not
You
once,
don't have
not
that
twice.
kind of mind.
What I doing with that kind of mind?
Man, is it seem like how I sit down and watching all these documentaries on
But-
serial killers? Does that possibly make me want to be a serial killer?
Watching a
No.
documentary
Mm.
feeds your curiosity. Calling the killer or going to the killer's house is a whole different
Man,
situation.
I would like to sit down and interview some of these serial killers to find out what caused them to become the way they are. But
All
that's
right.
not me doing.
check
Not research
terrorist
purposes.
websites. That's what they're gonna do. Reach out to them on terrorist websites. Boy, anyways, I really hope that the students are able to rectify the situation if it is that they're innocent, because we don't know what they were doing on the terrorist
But it's not
website.
the they. You keep saying they, and which is where it's wrong. You're not.
How do we know
grouping
that
them.
it is wrong? This is their side of the story. We don't know how much
Yeah,
of them
but they
actually
say
went
this-
on. They say that. We don't know
Ah.
how much of them actually went on to the website. We don't know what the interaction was on the website. We don't know. We just know their side saying we're being treated unfairly. Maybe when we get more context, or at least different sides,
Mhm.
we could then make our assumptions or come to a conclusion. But as it stands now, this story sounds odd to me. But I do hope that if what is in the story is true, that they're able to rectify the situation. Because I don't think Peter should pay for Paul. But I also don't think he should be on terrorist websites. So there we have it. The time is now
And
8
I
to
guess
2.
you're rushing it off right here. Go ahead.
It's 8 to 2.
Da, da,
The
da,
time
da,
is
da,
now
da,
8 to
da.
2 here in St. Vincent and Grenadines, and your time check was brought to you by New Haven Funeral Home.
Death is a fact of life.